All right, the basic idea here is that there are a bunch of standard cocktails, right? And I bet one of them is your favorite cocktail. But I'll tell you this, right next to your favorite cocktail is another drink that will deliver on everything you love about your favorite drink, but do so with a little more dimensionality, a little more evolution, some more interesting flavors, a little bit more artifice, a little bit more pedigree. I am going to put you onto those drinks right now, and we're going to start with the margarita. Now, the margarita is a great drink. It is a phenomenal drink. It might even be a perfect drink. You know, if you make them correctly, they are very simple, very easy to shake up. Shake them, don't blend them. They're wonderfully refreshing and exactly what you expect them to be. But we can do better, and if you like a margarita, I will bet that you will like this version of the Paloma from Zac Overman. Now, the thing about Palomas is there's a lot of different ways to make a Paloma, and in its most basic form, I personally don't really love them. They are the most popular drink in Mexico. They beat out margaritas by a long stretch. But the original Paloma, as it was conceived, is really nothing more than grapefruit soda, usually either from Jarritos or Squirt, with some tequila thrown in and a twist of lime. I find that those particular grapefruit sodas, while very tasty, are overly sweet and honestly not very grapefruity. So all of my favorite Paloma formulations involve real grapefruit and are much more grapefruit forward, much more bracing. It puts them into that space of being a lot like a margarita. So to make this drink, you will need to make an ingredient called Oleo Saccharum. And yes, we're getting a little complicated right off the bat, but we are upgrading these drinks, and so cope. I don't know what else to say. The rest of them don't involve things this complicated. Oleo Saccharum is a historic, ancient thing. It goes back to, like, I think the 1500s. You take the peels of citrus, you throw that into a bowl with an appropriate amount of white sugar, shake them all up and give it some time, and the sugar will pull the oil from those peels and dissolve itself into a truly wonderful and unique ingredient, very different than a simple syrup. We're going to start with 1 ounce of our grapefruit Oleo Saccharum. It's like Latin for sweet oil. Oleo, oil, saccharum, sweet. I want 1 ounce of lime juice. You want to use fresh juices in just about everything you do. I want 3/4 of an ounce of grapefruit juice, fresh. I want a little pinch of salt, 1/4 ounce of Campari, kind of a novel addition here. And 1/4 ounce is not a lot. It could even be called 2 bar spoons. And 2 ounces of tequila. I am using Tequila Tromba. This is a Reposado, 100% blue agave. I'm gonna shake this drink. Gonna prepare my glass. This ice spear is totally not necessary if you're making this drink yourself, but it's a nice thing. Strain into there. Top that up with a little soda, and yes, I'm using canned Polar soda. Normally, I prefer to make my own using a drink mate. I'm out of CO2 gas right now. This drink requires no garnish, but you know, a little green off of that pink always looks nice. Throw some mint in there, what the hell. And here we are. This is my version of Zac Overman's Paloma. Oh, that is heaven. That's so good. It is buttery, tart, bracing, grapefruity. It has this wonderful thing a little pinch of salt does when you provide it into fruit juices. It just like knocks them out of the park, you know. That's why you salt the rim of a margarita. It really wakes them up and accentuates it. It goes to this whole idea that there's basically 3 things you can do to food to make them taste more like themselves. Add fat, add salt, or add acid. That's like really it. And ideally, you want to combine 2 of those. And it works so well here. You get a lot of the flavor and characteristics of grapefruit. If you're not into the Jarritos/Squirt version of the Paloma that has the bottled grapefruit soda, you're gonna reach for grapefruit juice to help it wake up, get that real fresh grapefruit thing in there, and you might be disappointed by the results. That's because a lot of the flavors, believe it or not, that you are reaching for from that grapefruit, those are gonna be found in the peel of the fruit. At least once you start diluting them into a drink, you're gonna want the intense bitter oils that come from the peel, and the way you get them is in an Oleo Saccharum like this. And I think that if you love everything about a margarita, you will love this, okay? This will take that drink up to that next level for you. And just for my own satisfaction, we're gonna roll through this really quickly. I wanna make it again as an up drink so that it is exactly like a margarita. I guarantee this exact same recipe is going to work just fine as an up drink like a margarita in a coupe. There you go. If you really want it in a margarita form factor without the soda lengthening it, this would be that. Once again, I like to call it the Bathing Beauty mint. I just kind of drape it over the sides like that. I think it looks cool. It's like a lady at the edge of the pool. Here we go. This is the up version of Zac Overman's Tequila Paloma. Divine. Oh my God, that's good. You got to do it this way, Zac. You don't need the seltzer in this. There you go. You want your Paloma to look like a margarita in a coupe? You can't miss. This is wonderful. What a beautiful drink, too. It's such a pretty color. You're going right there in case I want some more of you. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. A margarita is a perfect cocktail, but try this. You're going to love this. This will knock it out of the park for you. There are a lot of different ways to make a Paloma. You can hit me in the comments with them. Go crazy. Let's move along to another favorite drink of mine, and I think probably one of the most popular cocktails on earth, the Old Fashioned. Now you say to yourself, I love an Old Fashioned. What could you possibly put me onto that would be right there, right next to an Old Fashioned that I would like more? And I have a couple of answers, but the one I'm going to reach for is the improved whiskey cocktail. Now, when the Old Fashioned came out in 1880, 1890, Old Fashioned comes into vogue in 1860s, 1870s, 1880s for sure. Let me just talk briefly about the Old Fashioned. There's this mythology that the Old Fashioned is the whiskey cocktail that has been around since the dawn of time, the dawn of whiskey. That's not really true. The Old Fashioned is an affectation. It's an anachronism thrown onto the whiskey cocktail. Because by the time the term Old Fashioned comes into vogue, the whiskey cocktail was quite an elaborate thing. It was the improved whiskey cocktail. It had evolved. Depending on where you went, it might involve curacao, it might involve fresh fruit, it might involve all kinds of things. At some point, people decided, no, I want it the old-fashioned way. I want it the way we had it down on the farm. Actually, hold on, let me use the right accent for that. I want it the way we had it down on the farm. And what I think is funny about that is that a lot of the rituals that you associate with the old-fashioned are not part of a continuous evolution of that cocktail. For example, a lot of people say, well, to make an old-fashioned, you got to throw a sugar cube into the glass, you got to crush it, you got to put bitters on it. That is not part of the whiskey cocktail as it was understood, except for when you go all the way back to before the international ice trade, which starts in like 1818 or something, like early 1800s. Once people had ice, they stopped using sugar cubes because they won't dissolve, and it's not the way people want to drink. The people who were ordering an old-fashioned in the 1890s were suffering grains of sugar in their drink to make some kind of a statement, and I'm not going to get into what that statement may have been.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Let's leave it there. A lot of people don't know this, but like YouTube is a very full-time job. It's like a multiple full-time job kind of thing, right? I am so busy trying to figure out what I'm going to do for my next episode, then developing the recipes for that episode, filming that episode, dealing with the post-production of that episode, building studio stuff so that I got new things to point my cameras at. It is a lot, and it leaves me with so little time that often I wind up not knowing what to cook, and it's so late and I don't end up cooking, and that's why I love Factor, who happens to be the sponsor of this episode. You know, Factor, they send fresh, not ever frozen, full meals straight to your home. They only take a couple of minutes to heat up in either a microwave or an oven, and they're really good. The food that I get from Factor has been genuinely delicious. It doesn't ever feel like a compromise when I heat one of these up. Every week, the menu at Factor is going to have a bunch of meals that cater to whatever your dietary lifestyle is. So if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, or you're protein maximizing, or you're doing keto, or you're calorie tracking, it's easy with Factor. Personally, I love how much it helps with my portion control, because when I grab a Factor meal, I can look at the box and I know exactly what I'm eating. I don't have to guess, grab a scale, do a bunch of math, calculate calories. Like this meal is spinach and mushroom chicken thighs with creamy Parmesan and white wine sauce, 670 calories right there. So let's make this. Preheat to 375, remove the film, put it in there, and wait for 7 minutes. You can do it in a microwave much faster, 2 minutes or something like that, but I'm wearing a wireless mic, and believe it or not, microwaves tend to interfere with those kinds of things. There we go. Yum. All right, I'm gonna wait 7 minutes. All right, let's take it out. I think it's done. Wear a glove. Oh yeah, that's ready to eat. Probably shouldn't even be putting it right on my bar. Let's see how this one is. Oh yeah. Excellent. This is excellent. This is great, and if you want great meals like this, head to factor75.com or use the link below or the one up here in the corner and use code HowToDrink50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring this, and now back to the show. I got lunch to eat. I think that if you have an improved whiskey cocktail, as it is formulated by Jerry Thomas in the Jerry Thomas Bartender's Bible of 1860, I think that you will be very seriously turned on by this drink. So we're gonna stir this drink in a mixing glass. You could build it over the ice that you're gonna drink it on, and in fact, you could actually serve this up in a coupe. I have frequently done that. That might be my preferred way to do it, but I did just steal that coupe to make a upserved Paloma drink, which I'm gonna have another sip of. Just a little another nip. That's fucking paradise in a glass. So to make this drink, I am gonna start with about a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. And this is a 2-to-1 simple syrup as it would have been understood to be made at the time. 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, a little extra sweet there. That's the way they did it. They may have had ice, but the refrigeration was expensive, and Simple made that way can go on the counter. Simple made 1-to-1 cannot. Additionally, Nickel Morris, he's a pretty famous bartender. He invented the idea of super juice. He put it into words I could not. Your goal with making simple syrup is not to make sweet water, it's to make pourable sugar. You don't want to be beholden to adding water to a drink because you have to add sugar. Next, we're going to need a 1/4 ounce of maraschino. Yes, this stuff has been around forever. It was very popular throughout the 1800s. It remains very popular. It's a really important ingredient to have if you're getting into pretty serious mixology. This shows up again and again and again in classic cocktails. 1/4 ounce of this. It is a mildly sweet liqueur made from the pits, roots, and leaves of Marasca cherries. It does not taste like cherries. If you wanted to replace it with something, honestly, you cannot. But if you just want to have an understanding of what it tastes like, because you're not familiar with it, like a dry amaretto, sort of, but not really. But if I had to compare it to something, that would probably be it. We're gonna do 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Now we need our whiskey. Let's do Whistle Pig Rye. 2 ounces of the rye, whiskey, or bourbon of your choice. I'm gonna crack some ice. Give that a good stir. Watch the ice fly out of your mixing glass. I'm doing the worst stir I've ever done. Now this drink does call for a rinse of absinthe. You could do a rinse, or in the year 2023, you can use a spritz. There we go. If you happen to have a giant ice cube that's crystal clear like me, put it into your glass and strain it. Some people right now are freaking out that I'm not using a julep strainer. That's in the other room. Don't be a fucking narc. I don't care. It's holding the ice back. That's its job. We did it. Huzzah! Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's almost all small stuff. An old-fashioned you might garnish with a twist of orange, but these typically are garnished with a twist of lemon. And this is the improved whiskey cocktail. Oh my God, I haven't had one of these in like a year. The evolution that's present there. It comes in with this gentle sweetness. It comes at you so soft, so light, so wonderful. And not just sweet, because it's not straight sugar, and it's not an overly sweet drink. To be perfectly honest, if you're not well acquainted with whiskey, this drink probably won't be sweet to you at all, probably kick your ass. But it does come on with this sweetness. How can I describe maraschino? I don't know that I would call it herbal. I wouldn't call it rooty either. Maraschino has a flavor that is all of its own. It is maraschinish. It comes on with that. And tempered, stabbed with rye. I would say pierced with rye, shot straight through with rye, which is this, hello, I'm rye. It's got this abrasive, aggressive spice to it, right? And that heat from the whiskey. You get that, and you get the bitters, which lift the whole thing up, or maybe even give it a grounding. They lift it up, no, they ground it. The bitters ground it in Christmassy spices. I didn't even mention the lemon, but really the first note you get is lemon. Strong, fresh, bright lemon. And then that hangs out for so long. It is just this wonderful mishmash of Christmas spices, maraschino, the dry, distantly cherry notes that are not overpowering at all of them complementing our whiskey and our rye, lifting it up, grounding it, giving it this huge, if you think of a spectrum of sound, if you've ever seen a spectrograph that covers, 20 hertz up to 20,000, the range of human hearing, and it lights up, right? And you see the bass, and you see the treble and stuff like that, and you see the mid-tones right in the middle, right? This is hitting them all right across the spectrum. Everything is in play, and then there's some harmonics and some frequencies, and it dances through chords. This is a work of art. This is ballet in a glass. It's opera. There is so few things in this world that are this wonderful, that have been handed down to you through the annals of history, that you can reach back and taste. There are thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, there are thousands of years of human ingenuity in this glass right now in front of you. This is the great goddamned pyramids, and you don't need to go to Egypt to see it. You can pour it into a glass in your own kitchen. It's all yours. You like a mojito. Bartenders hate it because they don't want to muddle, but you like a mojito. If you like a mojito, I bet you dollars to donuts you're gonna love a Queen's Park Swizzle. Queen's Park Swizzle is a classic cocktail that comes from Trinidad at the Queen's Park Hotel. It was invented on the occasion of somebody visiting the hotel. I think, I want to say Mary Astor, no, I forget who. Oh darn. All right, so I thought I was gonna build this drink in this glass, which is called the Pearl Diver, named for the drink that it's most commonly associated with. And then I realized I don't have my lele stick. A lele stick is a wooden twig with 5 little points on the end, and you use it for making a swizzle. It's also called a swizzle stick. I do have this, and I forget the name of it, but this is the same device, but it's used mostly in making chocolate. We're gonna use that, and this won't work in that glass, but I think we can make it work in this glass, so let's give it a shot. I don't know where the hell my lele stick went. I'm pissed. So a Queen's Park Swizzle, it will fulfill the same craving you have as a mojito, but better. So here we go. We're gonna start with 8 to 10 leaves of mint. Leaves of mint, not mint leaves. All right, that's good. We want 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. We want 1 ounce of lime juice. Do the air cut that you shouldn't do. Don't do that. It's dangerous. All right, here we go. 1 ounce of the good juice. Now here we get into a bit of a controversy. Every written down recipe I've seen for this involves like 2 to 4 dashes of Angostura bitters. But every person who's ever made me one of these, who happens to be from Trinidad or its surrounding islands, has added like 10 to 20 dashes of Angostura bitters. So yeah, I would say to taste. So I'm gonna add a couple dashes of Angostura bitters here, and we're gonna add more later because it looks cool in the glass. Now we're to my next problem. I need to add crushed ice to this, but fresh out of Lewis bags, I don't have an ice crushing machine. I do have an ice shaving machine. We're gonna make this with shaved ice, or at least partially shaved ice. You might ask yourself, what's an ice shaving machine? But here it is. I bought this for an episode that we made a long time ago. And since we moved, and I don't know where my Lewis bags and things of that nature are, this is the way to do it. Is this overkill? I think overkill would be an understatement. This is like running a chainsaw off the engine of a monster truck to cut down a 4-inch tree. Comes with like a little bowl. I should have just used a little bowl and transferred it. That's what I get for trying to be cool. We're gonna need a little more ice. See what I mean? It's overkill. You don't need this. Nobody needs this. In all seriousness, just use like a Lewis bag or something with a hammer. We're gonna put some of our ice in there. Oh, you know what we forgot? We forgot the rum. I forgot the rum. That's an important ingredient. Hey guys, I'm making a show where I get drunk, so it happens. This drink calls for Demerara rum, which is rum made in Guyana. One of the notable brands is El Dorado. This is pretty nice stuff. This is fancy stuff. I've got a bottle of Hamilton's Demerara rum. Hamilton is a little harder to find, so to me, that's the rarer bird. This is right at my local liquor store, so we're gonna use this stuff. 2 ounces. Although in practice, I have frequently seen this drink made with 3 ounces. Use an actual lele stick, but today we're using this. And swizzle. This is what swizzling is. Now, why didn't we muddle? You don't need to. When you do this, you do plenty of agitating on that mint to get those mint oils released into the drink. It's totally not necessary. Although this one is half a muddler as it is, so maybe I am gonna muddle a little bit. Works really good. Now we add some more ice. We're gonna keep doing this until the drink is done. So you thought a mojito was high effort. This is gonna blow the doors off of that. That is more than enough snow ice. I'm gonna add more ice to it, but it's just gonna be cracked ice. Again, I'm making a Queen's Park Swizzle. I am working with the materials I got. You wouldn't have to do all this normally. Why don't I just add more snow ice? Because it makes it actually really hard to drink. This kind of shaved ice clogs a straw easily. But we do want to top it up with some of that. We want that nice snow cone appearance on top. You're gonna want to garnish this with a sprig of delicious, beautiful mint and several more dashes of Angostura bitters. Let those kind of drip down through the drink. Put a straw in there, if you can. And enjoy a trip to paradise. Oh God, I love this drink. I'm not gonna lie, Queen's Park Swizzle is one of my favorite drinks of all time. I make these on a pretty regular basis. This one came out particularly good. So what do you like about a mojito? Mint, sweet, and lime. That's here. But what you're missing in that mojito that this drink has is complexity. Demerara rum is a completely different animal from a lighter Cuban-style rum, right? This has funk. This has caramel. This has butterscotch notes. This has raw sugar. This has molasses in it. This has the Demerara River in it. This has deep, earthy jungle undertones in a way that is inviting, that isn't overpowering. We've got Angostura bitters here, and we've got a lot of Angostura bitters here that bring so much of this allspice Christmas. We call them Christmas spices, but they're island spices. Is there vanilla? I think there's vanilla. There's nutmeg. There is all of that at play in this drink. On top of all that, instead of lengthening it with soda, we're lengthening it with snow. I want you to imagine a hot summer day, just brutal Caribbean heat, and putting this in your hand, and with the swizzling and the crushed ice inside of it, the entire outside of the glass will frost. It's so powerfully cold. It is wonderfully cold. I forget who said it, but somebody said that it is the most devious form of internal air conditioning yet devised by the human being. I so wish you could reach through your monitor right now and taste this drink, because I swear to God, you would be an immediate convert. It is impeccable. So I think we should go back to Cuba though, because I did just denigrate the mojito, maybe the national drink of Cuba, because they do have a wonderful drink called a Cuba Libre. Now you might be saying to yourself, a Cuba Libre? That's just a rum and coke. But oh no, my friend. Oh no, no, no. A Cuba Libre is a different thing entirely. In fact, it's a rum and a coke and a cocaine. Yeah, we're not gonna make that version. The original version probably had some amount of cocaine in it, because the recipe for Coca-Cola did not change until I think 1913 is when they got rid of the cocaine, and this drink came into vogue in 1899, so whatever gets you up San Juan Hill, am I right? We're gonna build this drink in the glass it's served in. We're gonna throw our ice in. A rum and coke is rum and coke. It's not any particular rum and it's not any particular coke, but there's even more than that going on here. We're gonna start with 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. And I'm gonna tell you right now, just adding lime juice to a rum and coke changes it entirely. We're gonna add 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Just adds a little more depth and complexity to it. If I had the access to Real Havana Club from Cuba, that's probably what I would be using. We're gonna add 2 ounces of rum. I'm gonna use Probitas. I think that is the most appropriate rum I can lay hands to, and should be available, by the way, on Curiata at drink.curiata.com. Curiata is a friend of the show. You know, they cut us in on a piece of the action. Whenever you go over there and order anything, go on over there, use the link in the pin comment below, use it up here in the corner. Get yourself something at Curiata, a bottle of Probitas, for example. An excellent rum, a divine rum. Stir that up. Let's get it nice, cold, and mixed. Get your Coke. For what it's worth, probably you're gonna prefer Mexican Coke. Most people do. Made with sugar instead of corn syrup. Top her right on up. Do the old vertical scrape to get it all integrated. I'm gonna garnish this with a wheel of lime because my go-to mint sprig is getting a little out of hand. And a straw. And there it is, Cuba Libre. There's so much character in this drink. This is nothing like the rum and coke that you were served in the basement of a fraternity. This is lifted. It has so much lightness to it. The addition of lime, just that, takes this drink and wakes it up. It cuts the sweetness. This drink is balanced. How many drinks can you add Coca-Cola to and say, that's balanced cocktail? You put that lime in there in that quantity to that much Coca-Cola, balance emerges. We have countered the cloying sweetness of our Coca-Cola, and what we have done is we have allowed its more bitter and complicated flavor components to come forward. Coca-Cola is one of the most complicated cocktails, so to speak, known to man. There's so many ingredients, and I know, because although I haven't filmed it for the show yet, I have made it from scratch. It's freaking crazy. Coca-Cola is not sugar water. It's a lot of other stuff too. You take that Coca-Cola and you allow it to express itself in the way that it really should have been all along. In addition to that, it complements the rum so wonderfully. The rum suddenly has these buttery notes, these sugar notes, these molassesy notes, the funk, the rum funk. Just a little bit, and all of that works together into this thing. On top of that, we've added more spices. We've taken Angostura bitters and thrown a couple dashes in there, and now you've got, again, that Christmassy spice. It's not loud here. It's not like it was in our Queen's Park Swizzle. Heavenly. paradise. It's adding that balance that a rum and a Coke doesn't have. They're working together to become this new thing, this wondrous thing. Oh, marshmallows. I was calling it butter. There's a toasted marshmallow note that comes into the end of this drink. And it's all up in my nose right now, that flavor. I want to go out and have a fire tonight, sit by the campfire and have a toasted marshmallow. This kicks ass. I want to talk to you about a daiquiri. I think a daiquiri is another drink that's like a margarita in a lot of ways, like they're both sours. And I think a daiquiri is a damn near perfect cocktail, but I do think that there is a better drink right next to the daiquiri that you're missing that is just gonna blow your fucking mind. It's called a Caipirinha. It's better, it's more interesting, it's got more going on. I don't know if it's official or not, but I'm pretty sure the Caipirinha is like the national drink of Brazil, where it is just as likely to be made with something called aguardente. I hope I said that right.
Aguardiente.
Which is, if I'm not mistaken, kind of like rum that is moonshine. We're not gonna use that. We're gonna use cachaça. Cachaça is a spirit distilled from fresh pressed. I could say one sound or the other, but not both. Let's try it again. I gotta rub my stomach and pat my head. This is a spirit distilled from fresh pressed cane syrup of sugarcane. You might be saying, but isn't that rum because it's made from sugarcane? And I would say yes. The nation of Brazil would say absolutely not. It's like a lot like rum agricole. Pot still, fresh pressed cane syrup, no molasses. It's a very different spirit. It has a lot of esters. I think that's right on the chemistry front. It's got a lot going on. It's very funky. And honestly, for this, you want the unaged version. So the first thing we gotta do though is we gotta cut a lime in 2 pieces. So there's a thing I just screwed up. I've had many Brazilians tell me that, hey, you should take the pith out, which is this part in the middle here, that white part, that adds bitterness. You could take it out. I kind of like the little kick of bitterness that it might add to this drink. It is frequently built in the glass you're gonna serve it in. I'm actually gonna shake mine. Personally, I just think it yields a better Caipirinha. That's a matter of opinion. Don't shake it, I don't care. It's a little bit like an old fashioned where like, man, there's no wrong way to make this. As long as your Caipirinha involves lime, cachaça, and sugar. Apparently too, in Brazil, and I don't know this, most of them are further flavored, adulterated even, with other fruits like passion fruit, watermelon, and like all kinds of flavors. They're a drink that if I am not mistaken, you get from a guy on the beach. Not a guy in a stall on the beach, but like a guy who might have a cart on the beach. When I'm using a different glass, I might build it in the glass and then cap it with my shaker and shake that way as if it were a Boston shaker. This glass will not work for that. I will say I love this glass and I love all the glasses I've been using on the show. If you like the glassware that is appearing on How to Drink now and has been for a while, it's all provided by Whiskey. Whiskey makes beautiful glassware. They provide all the glassware you see on the show, and if you want to pick up these glasses and use them at your home bar, well, you can use the link in the pinned comment below. You can use the link up here in the info button doodad that's appearing, hopefully, and you can use code HowToDrink15 at checkout. You will get 15% off of your order. Beautiful glasses, all for you, here on How to Drink. Go get them at Whiskey. I'm gonna take this whole lime's worth of pieces and throw it in there. I'm gonna take a few spoons of granulated sugar. 1, 2, I think 3 is probably the right amount, maybe 3.5, something like that. And now we want our 2 ounces of cachaça. By the way, Nova Fogo, I fucking love this cachaça. 99% sure you're gonna be able to get this at Curiata. Man, is this good stuff. Give that a good muddling. In this case, you really do wanna crush up those limes. Normally, that's the wrong thing to do, but here we do. I'm gonna crack all of this ice into my small tin today. Now I'm gonna give this a quick shake, and I do mean a quick shake, and I wanna emphasize that because a lot of times on the show, you see me shake, that's a tiny piece of the shaking I did. I probably shook 5 times that amount of time because, you know, editing, and it's boring to watch a guy shake. But we're gonna shake this one pretty quick. That's it. Take your glass, dump it in there, ice and all, get it all in there. This drink requires no garnish. It's already got plenty going on in the glass. Aquela do Brasil. Oh yeah. That is like if you took a daiquiri and threw it into a coal rolling Cummins diesel. Got a Cummins. Just a quick shout out. If you are not already turned on to regular car reviews, get on over there. That guy's a poet. I love it. Oh my God. So much character, so much funk. This is a drink that tells a story. A daiquiri won't tell you a story the way this does. A daiquiri will be phenomenal. It'll go great with your tuxedo, with your evening wear, even with your casual t-shirt at home. I love a daiquiri, but this drink wants to sit down by the fire and talk. It wants to have a conversation. It's got some life's advice to impart upon you. And it's funky, and it's bright, and it's sour, and it's just the right amount of sweetness, and it's alive with all of that. This is a drink that's full of character. Because cachaça has so much funk in it that most of the rums you're gonna put into a daiquiri don't. It's so much more raw, it feels so much more unrefined, it feels like some moonshiner made it. But otherwise, right, it's a daiquiri. It's sugar, lime, and rum. And then you gotta eat the ice. Get this and put it in your fucking mouth. You love a Moscow Mule, which means you love ginger beer and alcohol. I got news for you. There's a drink called the Dark and Stormy that's just plain goddamn better. Moscow Mule was born out of an ad campaign designed to sell Smirnoff, featuring an ad campaign starring Woody Allen. Woody Allen was in the commercials. I know that's something, right? I don't know what the birth was of the Dark and Stormy, but I don't care. It's a better drink. It's ridiculous, but I'm gonna put this drink into this tiki mug because I need a tall glass and that's what's within reach. I will not defend this choice. We're gonna need a ½ ounce of lime. I actually like an ounce of lime. Regardless, you need lime in this. It's really funny, I had a friend over the other day who was like, oh man, I've never had one with lime in it before. They're so much better. I've never had one without lime in it. I don't know how they're making them in Bermuda, where the Dark and Stormy kind of comes from, but put lime in it. Let's cut this. You will never know how close that was to slicing my finger. Let me tell you what you do. Use one lime. Unless you got a particularly bone dry lime, whatever you get out of one lime is fine. So why am I using a jigger? Only so I can tell you how much I used. Just shy of an ounce. The next thing you need is rum. This drink, like the Painkiller, I think that's it. I think it's only those two, is patented, which means that officially, by law, you are supposed to use Gosling's Black Seal rum. Unofficially, the darkest, dankest rum you can lay hands to is probably ideal. And I don't mean most aged, I mean most funked. Black rum is a style of rum that's old, it goes way back, that is like kind of artificially aged, and that's what this is. Reach for a black rum, reach for a black strap rum. Both of those are gonna be good. Just use the good shit. I'm gonna take 2 of my big cubes and I'm gonna crack them both in here. In theory, I'm gonna get them in there. This glass is huge. I'm gonna add a 3rd cube. Grab your ginger beer. I do like Reed's. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion. I think Reed's makes good ginger beer, the extra in particular. Top her on up. I've heard people tell me that the whole thing here is that the drink should be layered and without ice so that it looks 2 different colors. I don't think that's true. I think the drink should be incorporated and actually delicious. So give it one of these, the spoon scrape, gentle. In fact, I usually give it a really good stir before I add my ginger beer, but I forgot. You can garnish it if you want, but this is the 6th drink of this episode, so I will not. Furthermore, you can put a straw in it if you want. I don't think you need to. I actually kind of like to drink these without a straw. Something about it. I like the battle against the ice. That beats a Moscow Mule right to its core. I mean, it just takes it out back and schools it. Again, listen, I know I love rum. I want to convert you. Rum is magic. But the thing is, there's just no way getting around it. Rum's got more flavors in it than vodka. It does. When you drink a vodka mule, a Moscow Mule, what you're drinking is a ginger beer that has been given some proof. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody will appreciate that. But you can do more with that exact same format. I want to tell you too, you will get different Dark and Stormies with different rums. There are rums that I have played with that I know I really like in a Dark and Stormy, and rums that I know I really don't like. Because rum actually can stand up in the face of ginger beer. Ginger beer is a very powerful flavor. It's got all that heat and sweetness and bite. It takes an angry spirit to not get pushed around by it and just disappear. Rum is the guy for the job. Put the fucking rum in there and ditch the copper mug. It's a stupid marketing ploy. But copper interacts with lime, and that would result in it. No, it doesn't, because copper mugs are lined in stuff so that you don't get copper poisoned and die. The copper mug came out as a marketing ploy because it looked good in pictures and on commercials. That's really it. This is a better drink. That was a little something I like to call drink this, not that. And if you enjoyed this kind of thing, believe it or not, I've got a lot of stuff written down that would allow me to do more episodes than this. But physically, biologically, I am capable of perhaps 5 to 7 drinks in an episode before I have to lay down and sleep it off. So we are at the end of this one. Please enjoy these links to other episodes of my show that have been on the internet since the dawn of time. because I got old. I will see you next time on another episode of How to Drink. Until then, please like and subscribe. I've got a Patreon, and if you're not over there, check it out. There's like behind the scenes stuff. There's just like lifestyle vlog stuff about what I'm up to. Short form content. We give out pins. There's all kinds of stuff happening over there. We got a Discord that the fans all hang out in. Sometimes I'm in there. I've been at my desk a lot less lately, so I apologize. Thank you. You beautiful people, you.